Thanks for joining, everybody. Today we're going to take a look at folders in ProLine. We haven't done this yet on a Pro School. We've had folders for a few weeks now, but there's been some improvements and some bugs that we had to work out. So just going to basically go over this whole files area and also some configuration stuff company wide on how this works and how it gets configured for new projects. So first thing we have our files area. One of the most recent improvements was just when you click now on a file, it's going to open up this image inside of this little modal area. And same thing if it's a document, it's like a PDF document, it's going to open it up in a PDF viewer here. So before we had it where it would open up in a new page, and so we were having a lot of issues with that not loading, especially on mobile. And so this should completely solve that. Now we're pulling it up inside of the app entirely and not trying to open it in a new page. So yeah, that should really help, especially on mobile, with getting things to open up properly. Now we also have our nice little folders here, and you can just drag anything that's in your files area into a folder. You can also open up a folder and upload files directly into any given folder. And you can also have folders inside of folders. So there's a lot of flexibility here on how you want to structure your folders inside of ProLine. You can control a number of different things about these folders here once you're inside. So once you're inside, you have some options up here. Of course, you can delete the folder, but you're not going to be able to delete the folder if there's anything in it. So you do have to pull everything out before deleting. We might implement like a bulk delete at some point, but at this time, if you want to delete a folder, you got to pull everything out first. You can also edit the folder, change its color to something else. So if you want it to be a purple folder instead of a green folder, you can do that. We'll change the color up here at the top and then also here on the inside of the parent folder. Lastly, we added the ability to restrict access to individual folders based on the team members' permission structure. So by default, this is always going to be all team members so that anyone can access the folder. But if you have a folder, maybe it's some sensitive insurance documents or something, and you need that only to be accessible to admins, you can change the folder to be only accessible to admins. Now, you'll see a little lock symbol here in the corner. I don't think anyone in here is not an admin. Let me see if I go change this other account to be a non-admin. Let me see. So I'm going to make this into a basic account. All right. So if I go back into that folders area and I switch into this other user that is a basic account, you'll see that this is now grayed out. I can't access it because it's restricted for my level in the business. Additionally, that's pretty much it. That's pretty straightforward on restricting access to folders. However, one thing I do want to go over is the ability to create default folders for new projects. So you can actually add in down here on the projects page or projects area of your company settings, and also on the contacts area of your company settings, you can do the same thing. You can create default folders for your files area. So if you always know you always want to have a photos folder in every single project, you can set that up inside of your projects tab and your company settings. And then now you'll always have that photos folder ready to go. You don't have to create it from scratch for every new project. Same thing if you need permits or anything else that you might need folder structure wise, you can do that. Currently, you can't create child folders within folders by default. It's just going to be at the top level folders that you can create by default. But you can also set the accessibility. So you could do insurance docs, and you can set this to be admins only. And now whenever a new project is made, and we'll go ahead and just create a new project here. So we'll create a new project for AJ test. And then if we go to the files area, we'll see that we already have our folders here ready to go. And and this insurance doc has that little lock on it because it has that restriction on it that only admins can access it. This works the same way for contacts. So if you have files that are specific to a certain person that you work with, maybe they do multiple projects with you, they're a property manager or something, you can have documents saved to the individual contact rather than having it at the project level. And you can also have those default folders set up at the contact level as well. So that's pretty much everything about the folder system. I guess before we start just talking about questions, I'll address the coming roadmap on this, future features that are already on the horizon. So one of them that we would love to do is making it so you can share folders and share them as sort of a gallery. So you would be able to have your photos and share that easily by text through ProLine and shoot off that link so that people can open up and see a gallery of those images. Or if you need to share a collection of documents with a homeowner, you can do that. That is something that we would love to add. I don't have a specific timeline on it, but it is on the radar. The other side of this is taking the same folder functionality that we have here and duplicating it at the company level. So having a company's or company files area that allows you to have company-wide documents that can be used for training or linked inside of inside of emails. So just having an area that you can easily host documents and use them anywhere else in ProLine that you need them, that's accessible to the whole team. But there'd also be those same restrictions as far as admin and manager and basic. So that's another thing that's on the radar that we will add. That will probably get added first before the sharing of folders as galleries, but both things that we have in the future. But always open for other things as well, other ideas you guys might have. You guys have any questions, thoughts?
I'm just thinking through the use case, like for Tresnik, where we might want that file is, let's say I make the custom cell sheet talking about siding replacement using the Hover 3D models, where it's like, oh, I'm talking to a guy because I'm going out for a roof today, but now's the time where it's like I can drop in another piece of like literature or something else that's relevant to him, but it's probably more like company literature about us, not necessarily load up your shingle literature in that spot. Is that kind of what the purpose is there for?
I hadn't thought about that, but that is a super easy ad that would add a lot of value. And that is having the ability to have all of your, as many custom pages as you want, because sometimes it might be hard to anticipate what you might need on a quote. So you're saying it's like a unique situation and you want to add that into the quote, but you don't want to have it just always sitting there. Because that's one other way to do it is you could just add them all and have them toggled off so you can toggle on the ones you need. But that's still cluttering up your quote area. So maybe you, especially the ones that aren't used a lot, you might want to have those in your company files and then just plug them in. I love that idea. And it's not a hard add at all. Once we have those company files in place. So yeah, I don't see, we already have it right now when you create a quote. Um, when you create a quote and if you're adding, let's just go to this one. If you're going to that gallery, it's not even have a gallery. You're using that gallery page or even the cover page. We have the ability to choose a file. And right now that just goes to the project. But right now you actually don't even have the ability to go to the contact, which is something that needs to be added. So what I'm sort of envisioning here is maybe 3 tabs. And so it'll default to project, but then you can jump over to the contact images or to the company files as well. So you just have basically project, contact, company, toggle between them. You can see it probably will need to have folders in here as well at some point. Um, and that will be able to pull stuff in. I don't have that on the custom pages yet. This also has choose images. We just haven't had a need for that, but it's not a difficult add to where you could have a choose image button and it pulls that same thing up and you could select company and then pull anything in that you would want. Yeah.
That's nice having the PDF because it's like you'll run into those times somebody asks for like a specific siding color or roof thing where it's like, oh, we don't normally quote Euro Shield. It's like, let me just download a Euro Shield PDF. And if I want to get that Euro Shield like cell sheet that they've already made, throw that in, boom, and okay. That's nice because there's an easy spot to add it, whether you're just building that quote or you just build that library. Because most people aren't going to build that library. They're just going to have like, oh shit, I need this right now. Now it's time to add this in. I like that.
Yep. Absolutely. You have thoughts, Gavin?
I like it. Yeah, no, I think that's super helpful. I like that idea a lot.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
I, I was thinking about when you were showing the folders and like some company files, like be able to have like a slide deck for salespeople that we could, adjust when need be. That would definitely be convenient to have, um,
Yeah.
in ProLine. So I like that. You could definitely use a folder with a gallery for that. So I like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. With the way we have this now, it would be pretty easy to pull in a presentation in here and
Mm-hmm.
have it be. I wonder if we could even have it set up in such a way that you could do. Because would you want to have that presentation as a PDF or would it be a PowerPoint or how would that?
So I typically, what I found when I use like other programs like a PowerPoint or like Keynote or any of those is sometimes they glitch. So I mostly use my iPad for any type of presentations. So I usually have a photo gallery and then I can make a shared gallery with other people. That's
Yeah.
typically the way that I do it. But sometimes I've found that it's really challenging if I, especially if I have like drone shots that are in like 48 megapixel, which I know is overkill, not necessary, but sometimes they're in there.
Yeah.
It it doesn't load, or it's really difficult to actually make that gallery because it's so much data, even on Wi-Fi, or upload it. So it would be nice to have it where it's stored somewhere and you could access it, and then you could upload photos of projects with addresses that are accessible too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, I like it.
Yeah, that is a good idea that I hadn't thought of that we'll probably need to implement with this is the ability to click between like if you pull up an image, being able to click over to the next image,
Mhm.
that would allow you to use it that way if you wanted to
Mhm.
upload stuff like that. So, yep. Cool.
Yes.
Well, good stuff. Kyla, any thoughts? Any questions?
No, I don't have any questions.
Okay. Sounds good. Any other thoughts, Gavin or Chris?
Are we
Nope.
going to specifically about this or in general?
We can definitely. Oh yeah. James is in here in the demo doing a demo. I was like, ah. So, but we'll kind of end the call and then I have some extra time so we can jump into anything that you wanna work through. Um, or really just go ahead and hit it. We'll leave the recording going because maybe someone else will benefit from it. So yeah, whatever you wanted to ask about.
So something I've been running into recently is kind of like we're trying to focus more on doing roofing, and not doing other stuff. We are a general contractor, but we do a lot of like coatings too, like specialty paints. I've kind of figured out within our in our quotes, but I get a lot of projects that have something random. Like I recently had somebody who wanted us to quote some stone siding and then some like carpentry work that didn't really like pertain to anything else specific. It was kind of like custom almost.
Yeah.
Um, so a couple of my reps have been like, hey, I need to send out a quote for this. How do I do it? And I don't want to go through and have to add the line items for the price in order for them to make the quote. It kind of seems like to slow it down. So for me, I was thinking maybe you can think of a more effective or efficient way of doing it rather. But it'd be helpful to have like the page that has all of our line items on it to be able to maybe have a custom version of that where you can type in a line item on that page and then just put a price in without having to have those line items that you select from. I don't know if I'm doing a great job articulating it, but I think you follow.
Yeah, there probably needs to be some sort of UI for being able to create items on the fly. There's a lot of functionality that gets tied back to the price list, so we wouldn't be able to have it be completely independent. But there's there is the way I would solve this right now is just have a line item that's like other or something to that effect, like an other item, or it depends on how granular you want to get. You could have a collection of items to cover those sort of random things that pop up.
Okay.
I would have but like, yeah, if it's just like the random thing and you just need to add $500 to the quote for it. Yeah, I would just have like an other line item in your price list that's set to like $1 each or something like that. And then they can pull in that, and then they can change it to whatever they would need to, like price wise at the end, at the like when it's on the quote. So once it's on the quote, they can change it to whatever they need it to be. But um that is the way that I would approach it right now in the short run, is just go ahead and add an item so it's there and accessible. And just let your guys know, like, hey, if you need to do anything like that, just search for other and it'll pop up.
Okay. Let's say hypothetically there was like a project that didn't include roofing or a typical scope of work for us. Would you
Yeah.
say just use like a text page? Maybe we could like format a text page as a template that kind of has a similar layout, but then it's going to hard to tie in like discounts and pricing and everything else. It's not going to, the
Yeah,
functionality wouldn't be there.
I would just create other miscellaneous price list items to cover those situations when they come up. So, and
Okay.
maybe you do, because what you're saying is like, you sometimes it's more than just a single line item. Sometimes you need to have it broken down a little bit more.
Mhm.
I would find a way to build it into your line items, because all of those numbers and stuff that's, goes into reporting and to track margin, all that. Yeah, discounts, like you're saying, all of that
Right.
is kind of tied together. So,
Okay.
I would definitely I would definitely encourage you to do that. And find some way of using the line item. One thing you could do though is just to keep it simple, just use an other line item for the price. And then in the description below it for that line item, you could break down, rather than having to have different line items for the whole thing. If it is a completely custom item, you could then break it down with some bullets underneath in the description, or in the description at the top of the page. So you don't necessarily
Good
have
idea.
to break it down in the line items themselves if it's one of those like one-off things, as long as you are getting the final price into the pricing system
Oh, that's
through.
a good point. You could put the description of whatever the scope of work is at the top and then just use the other price line item just to put the pricing in for whatever it is, and it would work. Okay. That's
Yeah.
super smart. I like that idea. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can even hide that line item while still factoring it in. And so the end result would be you'd have the description of the scope of work, and then you'd have a total, and that would be it. That's all that would show on the page, because you can hide that other line item, so it doesn't even say other line item or other item.
It seems so obvious now that you explained it, but that was perfect. Yeah, that worked. Thank you.
And I'll
It's
give
not
you
the
a tip.
most.
You label it something, Gavin. Do you have other sales guys, or is it just
Yeah. A
so
couple
you
other
label
guys.
it something like things that we definitely should be charging more than you already estimated this for? Because it's always like that
Right.
bullshit stuff where you're like,
Yep.
why did we sell this for $2,000? This is such a waste of my time. Like, what are we
Yeah.
doing with this?
That's right.
Yeah.
And then you make that your category where it's like, dude, if anything comes in, I don't care if these are 14 trades, but these all need to be like 70% margin, or they're not worth our time to touch it as part of a job. And that way you can kind of like cross check some of your production, so you're not just taking on a bunch of bullshit work where it's like, sure, I'll do everything you ask. Here's my prices. If you don't want me to do it, that's great, because I don't specialize in this. I don't do a lot of it. I don't care if I don't get this portion of it, but I still give you a price.
Just call it
Awesome.
2x
Thank
the
you.
price. 2x regular pricing. So just make sure you hide that. It does need to be more intuitive. Ideally, you should be able to add stuff on the fly, and just like, type it out. But then if nothing pops up, there should be a button for like add one-off item. Um, and I could put some thought into that. There's an easy workaround with the other, but it's I just I'm worried that it's going to end up messing up some of the reporting and stuff that we have in place. So we'll see. But it may be possible, as long as it makes its way into the pricing at the end of the day, then everything should be good. But I'll put some thought into it.
Sounds good.
All right. Kyla, did you have did we kind of already cover that, or did we need to go over that anymore with the campaigns?
No, but I had another question. So when we schedule a job, we usually send and install like what to expect for roofs and windows. A video. I just don't know. Do I just need to make two different campaigns for like the roof customers and then the windows, so I can just add them, into those campaigns?
Yeah. Yeah. So you would create two separate campaigns and then you would use the triggers. We have a guide on it that I can send you. So you would use the triggers in the stage to filter out the projects into the correct campaign based on what trades have been selected for the job type or the services. So services or trades, but same thing. So whatever. So basically you would just set it up where if it contained roofing, then it goes to the roofing follow-up. If it contains windows in the service, then you put it into the windows follow-up. So it's all about how you set up the triggers. But yes, you would have separate campaigns for those.
Okay, that's all that.
Absolutely. All right. We'll wrap it up there. Thanks for joining today, guys. And we'll see you in the near future.
Awesome. Thanks, AJ. Have a good one.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Bye.